Alrighty, here we go. All right, welcome guys. This is the DracoSilvam guild interview. Um, we'll just go down the line. You guys just introduce yourselves and say who you are and what your position in the guild is, I guess.
So I'm Housey Poo. I am one of the leaders of DracoSilvam, one of the founders of DracoSilvam.
I'm Cariel. I'm the Chief Officer of DracoSilvam.
And I am Ongar, also Chief Officer of DracoSilvam.
Okay, so right off the rip, are you guys all equals or?
No, Ongar and I are like just officers below Housey. Housey's a leader and founder. We basically deal with anything when Housey isn't able to or doesn't want to.
So there's no one on Housey's level, to be clear, because he said one of the leaders.
Yes.
Oh, there is. Who
Yes.
else is?
Yeah. So there are 3 leaders.
Oh, Majun. Oh, I just saw him in Haven yesterday when I was playing with my girlfriend. Like randomly ran into him. I knew the name. I just didn't. He said he was from Draco, but he didn't say he was like the leader of Draco. So
yeah, he's the more modest version of leadership. He does a lot of internal things, but he's, if not as far more valuable than I am to the guild. He's always around. He's very dedicated. What Draco is today is 90% his vision and 10% my sort of extroversion. So he's a big key component to Draco.
Gotcha. Let me just change my stream title real quick because I forgot to do that actually. All right. Well, I mean, at least we know you're learning as far as your book is concerned behind you. Your leadership.
Should I put up a screen or something? Time for me to plug what I'm studying. Is Henrik still around?
I don't know. We'll see if he types in chat. I don't know.
All
right. So I mean, we'll just start with some basic questions about the guild. Is it like a PvP type of guild, PvE more? Like what would you describe yourself as?
Everything. We do all of it.
Okay.
There's no PvP roams.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's pretty much all guilds in a way, because you kind of have to do the PvE to do the PvP.
You have to. I mean, the dungeons are such like integral to the experience of MO2. Like, you just go get your resources, you go gank people at dungeons. They're hotspots for everything.
Yeah, that's fair. Are you guys? I talked to Housey recently. I don't know where you're at nowadays, but are you guys like RPK, anti-RPK? Like, where do you guys fall in that category?
And if you want to take that.
Yeah. So recently, we had switched to, I guess, more of an open PvP stance. We had a lot of new recruits, and you need the combat experience, right? You need to train them up so that not everybody's hitting like wet noodles all the time. So I guess we're more RPK, but it's selective. Like, you're not obligated or forced to attack everybody you see all the time. It's hey, if that guy's got a shiny set of armor and you think you can take the fight, then that's up to you. But don't come crying if you get your ass whooped, because then
it's smart people RPK. RPK with standards.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I do my own guild as well. Like, if we don't have a nap with you, it's just PvP, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. We're not looking for any obviously there will always be some sort of conflict if you get into a fight, but we're just honestly trying to get experience for our guys. We're not trying to start a feud that lasts 1,000 years and all that. We're not going to be running around killing obviously newer players or something that isn't going to give you the experience, right? If we've got 10 guys roaming and there's one guy naked on a mongrel horse, who's that going to teach any PvP? That's just going to teach the guy on the mongrel horse, hey, DracoSilvam is not nice. We want to try and be honorable with our fights. At the end of the day, we want even our enemies to say, hey, we want to have a conversation, say, hey, that was fun, let's do it again, because other than that, what's the point of logging in if we're just pushing each other down all the time?
Yeah, I don't think I've met anyone like who was toxic from Draco, like, ever. So I think you guys are doing a pretty good job with that. I mean, and not to say that you don't have toxic people, because you probably had to
Yeah,
deal with
it's
it at some point, like
for
all
sure.
people. But
Exactly. Yeah,
I
we've
think if I haven't run into someone though, I think you're doing a pretty good job of that. Is what I'm saying. Um,
it's
so
appreciated. We're trying.
good job. Yeah. So I mean, as far as the RPK thing goes, are you guys gonna stick with it after launch, or do you think you're gonna go back to kind of being more passive, only like defending yourself, sort of thing, or?
Yeah, so this I guess you can call it a shift, but it was kind of recent before maybe a month ago. Actually, maybe shorter than that, maybe just a couple weeks. But we had been generally ARPK out in the wild. Um, and we continued to respect this whole Bhakti bubble thing and attacked only people on our enemies list. But the shift we made, it's fundamentally first and foremost for learning. So our members have the opportunity to decide for themselves whether or not they want to try and attack somebody, and hopefully teach them that those decisions will still reverberate throughout mortal, and they'll establish their own relationship, their own reputation. you know
Mm-hmm.
um like, some people may know that if they come across me near Ant Valley, I probably won't just RPK them, but that's up to everybody to decide whether or not they want that reputation as a known RPK or a murderer or something like that. And that's, I think, partly some of the magic of mortal that we all kind of value. You learn, you know different tags, and you learn different names, and you start to establish your own sort of cognitive map for who you can trust and who you can't, and where you can go and where you can't go, and things like that. But as far as on launch, um, a lot of the motivation and inspiration here is based on, the keep, Draco keep, or Canteri keep. um, and we want to be very protective of the area. We want to establish boundaries. Okay, so if there's a Lycator spawn, in a stone's throw from the keep, we don't want just anybody, going to take those Lycators, especially how
Mm-hmm.
slowly certain mobs like mounts respawn now. So we're going to be a little bit more protective over those things. And so that RPK nature of, at least like throughout the jungle and the Canteri, was kind of born out of that philosophy that this is our territory. And not only will we defend it, but we'll protect, certain spawns and things like that. So um, on launch, obviously, we're not going to own the keep anymore. And then there's everybody's going to be developing their characters. They're going to be stockpiling resources. We're going to do the same sort of cadence that we did before about gathering our things and consolidating our resources. Um, but yeah, whether or not we go straight for a keep, um, it'll likely be the Canteri keep again if we go for it again, or maybe a stronghold. I'm not sure, but regardless, we're going to continue to be aggressive throughout the jungle and Canteri, at least. Um, Around Sausage Lake, maybe not. Ant Valley, maybe not. Um, in the Bhakti graveyard, certainly not. Um, Toward Moki, probably. So there's specific regions, that we want to sort of be associated with, and we want new players and veterans to know, those spots. If you encounter a Draco, we want it to be a little bit more transparent about what people should expect when they encounter a Draco in a certain spot. So if you are at a Lycator spawn right near the keep and a couple Draco run up on you, I would expect them I would expect you to assume that they would attack you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're, going to Tindrum and, we run into you, I don't know, in the orchard or something like that, probably not. But I want my guys to have the autonomy to choose for themselves. So will that aggression persist in persistence? Yes, but I want it to be sort of zeroed in on specific spots. I don't want to be known as just bullies throughout the map. I want to help new players. I want to help the game thrive, and I think the more nuanced approach to RPK is a good way to at least try, at least put the effort in.
Yeah, it's a real balance when because I'm the same way as you. Like on one hand, I really want to help the game grow, and being RPK really doesn't help the game grow, but it is fun and it's content for your own guild when you're able to just get the PvP content when it's available to you, like when you see someone.
Yeah,
But so
I
it's
mean,
really hard to balance, helping new players, helping the game grow, and then also just enjoying yourself.
Right.
at the end
it's
of
a major
the day,
part
it's a
of the
PvP
game.
game.
Yeah, it's a major cornerstone of the game. Some may argue not, some may argue it is. It's the entire point of the game, but the fact is it's there and it is going to happen. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
you have to be ready for it.
I had a very rigid approach on it originally coming from an ARPK guild, but honestly, one of the biggest sort of I guess motivators to my perspective change actually was when I was on your podcast a while ago and Aku was on there, and speaking with him just sort of broadened my perception of like the value of RPK and systems that are I guess more elegant in implementation to give players or PvP that want PvP, but also not facilitating new players just being bullied out of existence, because that's what is possible, right? That's what RPK can do. It can bully every last player out of existence and then get us a negative review drop from all the theme park MMO players. So finding that balance is I don't know, that's a maybe that's a Henrik wheelhouse, but if it's something that we can help facilitate along the way, it's something that I want to sort of integrate into our guidelines.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely do that. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, the best of both worlds is a situation where you pull up on, maybe like a group of 3 or a group of 4, whatever the numbers, doesn't really matter. Maybe you PvP them, you kill them, and then you go back to Bhakti sometime later, you see these same people, maybe they're naked, and you realize, okay, they don't have any new gear, they're probably new. And maybe you didn't even need their gear, but you still have it on you. You just give it back to them. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, well, they killed us, but they gave us our shit back. So it's like they were they were doing their PvP in the game from their perspective, but at least they weren't dicks about it. And it's kind of maybe
Yeah.
that negative experience turned into like a really good experience because they realized like, oh, not all people are dicks in this game, even though they PvP, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just one example, of course, but
That's a really good point. Like the impact you can have on somebody to show them that not everybody is out here to just try and murder you. I think it can sort of resonate, and I think in Bhakti it has. I think it's developed a little bit of a reputation for newer players to feel a little bit more comfortable there to go and learn, and that's by the behavior of everybody that lives there. Chimera, um, Care Bears, various guilds that try to uh, sort of bolster the new player experience rather than tear it apart.
um so going back to when you were talking about like your territory and again, this is all assuming that once keep goes out, your plan it works out the way that you hope it does, and you get maybe Kantari keep, or if it's a different keep and you just don't want to say, that's totally fine. But like, let's assume your plan does go. Something I was planning on doing for acolytes is like, if I do get my keep, I was thinking about maybe making like a forum post and like literally like outlining what we consider to be our territory, so that people move in there, they know like, okay, this is acolyte territory. They did post about it publicly. That way if people see it or don't see it, like, I know I established what I consider to be my territory. And since this is a sandbox MMO, players dictate what is and what isn't your territory. So would you maybe consider doing something like that to kind of like ease into that RPK around our territory thing, so that way you at least try to give people notice?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great idea. Just because that way it's a formal post. It makes things more explicit, and it reduces the confusion from some people. Because
Mhm.
if I had a nickel for every single time I woke up to dozens of DMs from somebody that, oh, somebody from Draco attacked one of my guys, or somebody, it I'd be my student debt would be a little bit less softened, but not quite so much because it's a lot of student debt. But that's something that I think is maybe not necessary, but maybe diligent for every guild leader or guild management to do, because it's good for the community and it's good for the guild as well. It lets them know, like, within these territories, go ahead and be ruthless, be a banger, because that's what we've established. And we actually have a map with shared with the collective, where we kind of outline our territory, where what we sort of claim to be our territory. And it's a lot of territory, going down from Canteri um, up through the Bhakti Bubble, Sausage Keep, Legion Keep, and then out through the Western Steppe, Integrity Keep. So there's a good amount of area in there, but I think for us exclusively, it'll be generally the jungle. And of course, there's going to be some overlap from other guilds.
Yeah.
Um, I know the coalition is going to have a lot of territory, and they'll probably dispute a lot of what we claim to be our territory. But that's a discussion that we can, have with Cathara or the other, leaders of Old Guard and things like that. But I think that conversation is important, because that way, if a Kodo guy does get killed trying to get a Lyciator, then that saves me that DM from them. I thought we were cool. What the hell? And then I just, I can just send them the map and be like, was it there? And then, discussion's over, I guess.
Yep. Makes sense. So basically, just even more basic. I should have probably started with this more so, but I mean, you guys are based. I'm just gonna ask questions as if I know nothing, so that people watching can learn. What town would people find your guild in most? Like most
Bhakti.
of.
Yeah,
Bhakti,
DracoSilvam
without a
is
doubt.
based in Bhakti.
Okay, and then the Kantari Keep you're talking about taking that you have now, that's in the jungle.
Correct. It's
So
southwest of Bhakti.
okay. And then how do you guys do, like, how do you go about recruitment?
That's a tough one.
We're pretty
Uh,
open with
yeah.
recruitment generally, but we like to take our time with recruits and try and get to know them, or at least aim to. Take them on roams, take them, to a dungeon, teach them PvP, all the fun stuff of the game, so that we can build rapport with them.
It's
Okay.
finding out what kind of, I'm gonna say profile, but it's finding out the way they want to play. If they want to run around, like shitting on noobs, I mean, you're not gonna enjoy your time in Draco, right? It's finding out what type of player they are, and then directing them, and or like helping them develop their characters in a way that it's going to work with the game, right? That's the general approach we take. I usually hang out in Haven. Like when the game launched on Steam, I was in Haven for 7 days straight, just talking to people, recruiting, and helping out.
Okay. So how many I mean, you don't have to answer this, I guess, if you don't want to, but how many like actives would you say you have generally currently?
Well, right now we have
Right now it's the holidays.
yeah, we've got about 8 people on in our Discord right now that look like they're playing the game.
Oh, I don't mean like right this second. I mean like generally, like how many people are like popping in and out day to day, playing.
Yeah.
Not even every
Yeah.
day, just
Yeah, I
Save the
like
holiday season is generally like 30 to 40 people.
okay.
yeah, it's probably fair between people in Discord and people that are just on in the game, yeah.
Is there like a number you're trying to hit, or is it kind of just open ended? Like you're just recruiting because launch is going to be kind of like a shit show, and you're just trying to grow bigger for that.
So we do want to grow, I mean, as big as possible, while still being able to maintain the structure of our vision and our direction. We don't want to be a Zerg. I don't want to just recruit somebody, hand them a steel sword, and say, "Go have fun. Welcome to Mortal." Like they were mentioning, I want to interface with them. I want to develop a rapport and a relationship, and ask them, "What do you want to play? What's your experience with games? Are you coming from WoW or are you coming from Ultima?" Cool, you're coming from a survival game. You understand a lot of the basic premise of how this game functions, and just get to know them a little bit and welcome them into the game, instead of just giving them a tag and then bragging to my other alliances like, guys, I got a new member. It's more, there's more at stake for the game to develop and bolster these players than it is to just grow numbers. And numbers, as we've discovered, is not the solution to surviving in PvP scenarios. You need quality players. Zergs might work for some guilds, but we want to really sort of, foster an environment where they can learn and understand the game and extract what joy they can from the game. So the vetting process is very, you could say, laissez-faire, in that it's less hands off. It's these aren't, despite the button up, these aren't job interviews. The game's not a job. It needs to be fun, and the motivation to keep them logging in. I don't think, at least the players that we have, I don't want their motivation to be out of some sort of obligation. Like, oh, I haven't done my dailies. I got to log on and do that. That's not fun. That's a job. Um, so the vetting is much more personal. It's much more integrative, in that we have a meeting every Sunday. All the officers come together, all the leaders come together, and we discuss the guild. What's the direction looking like? Is everybody satisfied? Has anybody heard anybody drop a hard R word recently? And we delegate those sort of tasks to.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know, but it happens, right? When you
Does it?
arbitrarily take people in, you have some stinkers. You have some. Not everybody that comes into Mortal is a beautiful, ripe little,
A poo-poo head.
appropriate, happy player. Yeah, some of them are really vile, and they get into your guild sometimes. And so it's at those meetings where we sort of discuss that and trim the fat. Or promote people, and just try and realign our direction. But yeah, that's kind of how we vet. It's on a personal basis. Has anybody has anybody gotten any experience uh, with this person? Have they gone on any excursions with them? How do they respond in a PvP situation? When they die, um, do they shout and blame everybody, or do they kind of just take it in stride? Like, what is their quality? It's a much more qualitative analysis rather than a quantitative one, um, in that we sort of have our ethical principles, and we promote, and encourage gameplay based on that.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And then if like someone's looking to join, how would they go about that?
Yeah, that guy.
Hi. Usually people just DM me and then we hop in voice and talk.
And they would find you like on the Mortal Online Discord, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they just DM me, and then I talk to them, figure out what they want to do with the game, what their objectives are, and help them make it happen. And if they're interested in doing mage stuff, then I go, hey, go talk to Territorial. Territorial knows stuff.
So again, this is probably something I should have started with, but like, how long has DracoSilvam been around? Like, did you guys just make it for Mortal Online 2? Was it before, or?
So Ronald, or let's just go with Majunda and I, the other leader, and Guy Farding, who used to be one of the founders as well, but he's no longer with the guild. We were all in NWO, and I started playing last November, so November 2020, and a few of the people in NWO, reconnected with Diesel. But Majunda ended up joining NWO. Arthas was in NWO, who's also now in Dracum. He's an officer. And Guy Farding, he was in NWO. And after, trying to establish some diplomatic relationships with other guilds and stuff and things like that, we the three of us, myself, Guy, and Majunda, we had one of these shifts, one of these philosophical shifts in direction of how you should approach the game, how you should approach recruiting, how you should approach PvP, your reputation, new players, direction, involvement in the community, all of these things. And it was not ARPK anymore. So we branched off of NWO at the time. It was a clean cut. It was a shift in ideology. It wasn't like, oh, Diesel, you're a jerk. It wasn't anything like that. But we left, and Majunda and I, the first night we met, this was maybe in late December or something like that. We spoke for like 5 hours about guild structure and organizational motivation and all these things. And we were both Shivra, and we were laughing about making this Shivra guild, this Shivra best guild. Um, and then when we decided to leave NWO, we were like, we're doing this. Let's do this. Let's pull the trigger. So we made Draco, made the Discord. I was in Seattle for business, and I remember sitting at the hotel, like I was supposed to be preparing for the next day this training that I was doing, but I was just on my phone, just like doing the Draco Discord and everything, and it was wild. It felt almost magical. To create the guild. I know some guilds might be created arbitrarily, but I know many of you guild leaders are and people invested in your guilds. There's an element of pride and joy and when you take responsibility for the guild, there's a cost, but there's also a lot that the guild gives back to you just in its existence. So we created it. I think it was March, right, Augie? It was right before you joined.
Yeah, literally 3 days.
It was a little bit. It was a few days, I think, before like the first stress test, and then recruitment went well. It was a few days before the stress test. I remember wandering around Meduli, like trying to pick up new players and teach them the game and stuff like that. But March was its original inception, March 2021.
Just a couple days. Just a couple days before you couldn't craft stuff out of boxes anymore.
Yeah. Back in the good old days, my goodness. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Wait, I had a question. I'm trying to remember what it was now. I'm also on 2 hours of sleep, so I apologize.
Oh, you're good, man.
Dude, the holidays have been all over the place, so
we can also, I mean, if you want, we all have a lot of ideas about Mortal, right? About how to make it better, how to bolster the community and everything. So if you want to integrate any of a lot of the purpose of DracoSilvam, our number one mission is to help the community, support the community, make sure, do what we can to help the game thrive. I mean, that's partly why we're doing this podcast, right? It's to really support the game. So yeah, we can segue into any of that if you want to.
Okay. Well, Iska did bring up the alliance, and you guys are an alliance, so I guess he asked, does Draco plan on staying in alliances in the future, like in any alliance, or are they planning on doing more on their own thing, like after launch?
Yeah, and Mahone asked something kind of similar. He asked, we recruit players, but what about recruiting guilds, like into alliances and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do plan on staying involved in the alliance. We've put a lot of time uh, into the collective, and recently over the last like month or two, excuse me, there's been a lot of collaborative effort, excuse me, between upper management of the guilds to facilitate like alliance wide trainings. So we're getting these like 30s on 30s in a I don't want to say safe environment because we kill each other, but it's you can get your sword back, so you just
it's friendly.
kill. Yeah, it's just rapid fire over and over and over, and it's just training those PvP fundamentals. So that's a big piece of value in it. But I would imagine, I'm hoping that the way that keeps are fully integrated into the game sort of fosters an environment for us to do trade between the alliances, to really sort of lock down those territories, as we were saying earlier. And if hopefully with the influx of many new players, the value of being in an alliance and structuring team efforts together becomes more valuable. That's what I'm hoping. And yeah, we have every intention to stay strong with the collective. Keep developing our relationships with Legion and Integrity and Chimera, who was just recently put into the invited into the collective. But yeah, they're all really great guilds. They have solid leadership. I know Rav. I spoke with him a lot. He's one of the leaders of Chimera too. They have a 3 leadership structure as well. But I remember speaking with him when it was, when he was, when this was just a brainchild for him, and I could hear the same enthusiasm and excitement in his approach to making a guild too that can help the game. So, yeah, I'm glad to be working with all of them, and I think they all want what's best for the game as well. So, yeah, uh, every intention to continue at that. And what Mahone said, that kind of, I think I kind of answered that with Chimera, but when it goes to recruiting, again, it's not the Zerg principle. We don't want just every single guild to come into the alliance. We want to vet very valuable, structurally sound, ethically responsible guild leaders of alliances, that we can trust, that we can develop a long-term relationship with, because we don't want sort of fair weather alliances to just come and go between the collective and whoever, because it's hard to develop that trust when it's this sort of door open policy. But we're open to the idea, certainly. And I hope, the fact that, Draco, who I want to be a very supportive guild, as well as Legion, which is a very, very aggressive guild. Hopefully that gives a little bit of an idea for the spectrum of guild types that we want and foster in the collective. It's not one type of guild, and it doesn't require one type of guild to be a good guild. Legion's an excellent guild, and they're aggressive as hell. And I wouldn't expect running across a Legion member anywhere to give them any sort of give you any sort of amnesty. They're going to kill you. They're going to chop your head off, and that's awesome. And we fully greenlight that and think they're an excellent guild. And we're glad to be a part of the collective with them. But yeah, we're open to the idea, but you've got to have value. You've got to have some some pretty clear structure for your guild. And you've got to want to be in it for the long haul, for the long game. So yeah,
the big stage, because most of these guilds, if not all, are aiming for keep spots or to aid the other guilds in gaining or keeping keeps castles.
Turgak asked in chat, he said, what is different about the collective versus other alliances? So like the other alliances being like you got the coalition in Meduli, then you got the 2 different northern alliances, like the Bear TC alliance, and then you got Levia Friendship Alliance, or whatever they're calling themselves. I don't know. Like, how would you guys say you differ from them?
Yeah, I kind of want to hear what Kara and I've got my sort of ideology about that, but I want to hear what you guys think about it. Let's see how much you know about the other alliances.
Pop quiz.
Pop quiz. To answer Poxon, no, Kodo is not in the collective. Kodo is in the coalition. But yeah, I mean, how is it different from the other alliances? I mean, it's the best alliance, first of all. Second of all, I mean, it's, from my understanding of it, it's a looser alliance than what people expect alliances to be, in the sense that it's very defense oriented. Don't get me wrong, we'll go and attack if the situation allows for it and is conductive to a lot of aggression, but it's more about holding assets.
So it's more defense, like defensive pact, than more like military alliance, which would be like offensive.
from my understanding of it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, again, in a way, this is kind of like, these are just kind of opinions. Like, I'm not expecting like a factual answer per se. I just want to know what you guys think. Like, these are just your opinions in a sense. Is someone else going to answer, or should I move on? I don't know.
Do you have any thoughts about that, Kira?
I mean, it's obviously alliances are pretty black and white in most cases. It's everybody's defending or aggressing together. So in that sense, it's the same as every other alliance. But like Ongar said, it's different in the fact that, especially since we're all operating out of different towns, Integrity and Legion are based in Vada, and Chimera and DracoSilvam are based in Bhakti. So we're more spread out over the map, as close as those towns are, to be able to cover more ground. And so it's definitely easier to rally the troops to defend a position than to go and attack someone, but it is possible, and we have done joint roams with the entire collective.
Well, in a sense, because I think if you're playing offense, you dictate when and where, in a sense. So if you're
Right.
defending, someone's already attacking, right? So that means you have less time to, regroup and, like defend the position because it's already being attacked. So unless
One's
you know,
reactive, the other's proactive, right?
yeah, I mean, unless you somehow know ahead of time, like they're going to be here at this time, then yeah, then obviously defense is going to be easier if you have that knowledge. But if you don't, then I would say probably attacking is better because if you're split between two towns, your forces are split between two towns, so you get to decide which set of forces you're going to attack, right? So, I mean, obviously you can't like pillage the whole fucking town like there's guards and shit, but just a general thing. Oh fuck, I had a question. Oh, okay. So it's a little bit slightly less about your guild, and again, it's kind of more of an alliance question, and I'll try and avoid these going forward. But I am curious. I'm sure a lot of people are curious because I never even heard of Chimera before they joined the alliance. So kind of what was the I don't want to say logic, but what was kind of the reasons, or like what made them able to join the collective? Like, what did you guys like about Chimera? Because I never heard of them, so you know what I mean. Did you guys kind of vouch for them since they live in Bhakti? Was that kind of how it went down, or?
Yeah. Do you know where they come from? The leaders? Okay.
I want to say Kodo. I don't know.
Um, Valhalla comes from Kodo. But no, Chimera. Um, not not to get too much into the all past dramas and everything like that, and I don't want to misrepresent them too much.
Okay.
Um, but the three leaders of Chimera, Papaturo, Hex, and Rav were ex-officers of HOJ.
Oh, that's right. I knew that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
So
knew where they. I spaced on it, but yeah.
no, that's all
Okay.
right. Yeah. So yeah, and again, I don't want to misrepresent like what that split was, but I remember speaking with Rav during things and just kind of reassuring him because there was a lot of ambivalence in his tone and approach as well. Like it's not if you've been with a guild for so long and you've developed a relationship with people in the guild, it's not easy to just boop, maybe not for most. But yeah, the split came for whatever reason they decided to do that. They had a different vision, a different approach, and they wanted different things for the game and for a guild, and so yeah, they left, and just based on their vision and their direction and their competencies as players, as guild leaders. Um, it was just I don't know. It was inspiring to me to see them kind of strike out on their own. Um, stay sort of firm on their beliefs and their direction of the game. And yeah, the more I saw them sort of develop as a guild, very rapidly into a generally relative guild or relevant guild. Yeah, that kind of inspired me to start this dialogue about, are you interested in an alliance? Do you want things? Do you want assets? Where are you going to live? What's your approach to new players? Are you going to be killing people in the graveyards or what? And it just kind of fit. It meshed. It meshed to the point where they can exist in the same space that we can, and we can sort of symbiotically contribute to each other's guilds. So that's how it works. That symbiosis is really what sort of ties in the whole alliance, and why you would want to be next to players and be civil and cooperative with them versus being their enemy. And I think that's sort of fundamentally the whole point or basis for the Bhakti village Discord and the Bhakti Village Council and all that. It's a group of players that don't want to be killing each other all the time. We don't want to be in the same guild because we have like fundamentally different visions, but we want to exist in the same place. So let's sort of facilitate a dialogue so that we can do that. That's really all the Bhakti Discord is. That's all an alliance Discord is. It's just a sort of formal area to meet to facilitate communication and cooperation. It's not flying under the same banner. It's just like an acknowledgement of teamwork. And that's kind of how Chimera, our relationship with Chimera, adopted into this full-on alliance. And that could happen with anybody, and it can happen inter allianced as well. Like the coalition and the collective do not hate each other. There's there's arrangements for PvP, open PvP, but there's like I think a formal agreement to not siege each other. Okay, so we don't have to worry about a year's worth of resources being dumped into a keep just get stricken down by a lightning siege from Kodo overnight, and they don't have to worry about us doing that either. So I think the whole point of all of it's facilitation of gameplay. I remember back when it was still take resources out of boxes and just make whatever weapon you want. Somebody was talking about in help chat about how if the Zerg from like East Asia or whatever entered the game, like they do an arc or something like that, and just dumped like 10,000 players in the game and just came to destroy everybody's assets, we may form. Do you think it's unrealistic to assume that maybe the entire community would band together to resist this sort of scourge of
I don't think it's
outsiders?
unrealistic.
I think that would be cool. I think that would be a lot of fun. I would love to have that conversation with you, Putson, and Kuthara, and Sneeze. These outsiders are here to destroy the game, so let's band together, like the Avengers or something. But
back when I was playing Life is Field, it's exactly what happened. It was just literally East versus West.
It's not unheard of, right? For like massive groups of players to come and literally just destroy everything. So that's like the point of an alliance, right? To protect your assets, for me to protect what you've been doing for the last year, Putson, and for us to work together to that end, I suppose.
Yeah. Wait, what?
It's a wild scenario, but
I
don't know.
There was like an auto thing because he said Chinese, so I didn't know Twitch did that. All right.
What did I say?
No. Someone typed in chat, killing Chinese bot like in Atlas, and then I had to accept his chat into the Twitch. I never saw it. Like something popped up, and I was like, "What? What is that? Never seen that before."
I had to consider the verbiage about who I was going to consider the Zerg.
Damn, Gak, hit me with the good questions, man.
Yeah, it's a great question.
So I'll ask this question and then I'm gonna step away, but I have my headset on so I can still hear you. So just keep going. I just have to do something. But he asks, how do you facilitate your own identity as a guild when part of an alliance, a collective? Like, how do you stand out? And like, how do you, still say, hey, I'm DracoSilvam, I'm the guild, but I am part of a bigger alliance. Like, how do you know what I mean? How do you separate yourselves when you're talking to people and stuff like that?
Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I think
our playstyles, right?
Yeah, the most obvious is our playstyles and guild philosophies, but also location as well. That's part of the reason why we are separated in different towns, so that we're not just all seen as the same guild living in one town, because we aren't. We're many guilds living over many towns, or at least for now 2. But that's when you go into Bhakti and you see a DracoSilvam or a bunch of DracoSilvam, and then you go into Vada and you see a bunch of Legion or Integrity, then you know that there's different guilds living in different areas, and they're not all explicitly aligned in the same direction, but they are helping each other out. And the same as Housey was mentioned earlier, if you see a Legion, they're quite aggressive, so they're more than likely going to attack you. But the DracoSilvam, our guild philosophy is a bit more nuanced. If they want to attack you, they can. If they want to help you, they can. Myself personally, if I see you, I'm more likely going to heal you and your horse and strike up a conversation than go for blood. But that's not to say that all DracoSilvam are going to do that. But you're more than likely not going to find that from other guilds.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Ongar? Does that sound about right?
I mean, it's pretty much it, right? We're in separate towns. We're doing, we're each of us doing our own thing. We're still acting of our own accord. It's a lot of people see being an alliance as this huge like identity robbing thing. We're all just doing our own. We're still just doing our own thing. Like you see DracoSilvam, we're not. It's not the same as seeing Legion, right? You're not in the collective. You see a Legion tag, shit.
Yeah.
But you see a DracoSilvam tag. I mean, yeah, we've been doing our thing in Bhakti, but at the same time, we like having that gray nuance zone where you're not sure what's going to happen when you meet a DracoSilvam tag, and I think that's part of the identity thing. We all play our own ways, and being in an alliance doesn't rob you of playing your own way. At least in the collective, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that, and if I can elaborate a little bit on it as well, like what Kara was saying, if paraphrasing you, but you said if you run into me, I'll heal your horse. I won't kill your horse, and I guarantee you there are some people that aren't in Draco that know that are aware of that. They're coming over the West Bhakti Bridge and they see Kara and they, whew, okay, we're okay. I know that guy. I know who that is. And that sort of cultivation of one's reputation extends to a guild just in a much more gradual and subtle and nuanced and abstract manner, because it's not impossible, it's not unheard of for a guild to misrepresent their actual ethical guidelines, their own principles, their own foundation. I can put anything I want in the guild post, in the guild recruitment post in Mortal. I can say we do this, we do that, we do that, we do this. But if we don't actually do those things, then we're misrepresenting who we are, right? So the question is, how do we cultivate that identity? How do we actually be who we want to be? And I think it's so many different things, but I think the diligence and leadership is important. It's we have a very sort of democratic process of vetting people into leadership positions in Draco. It's like what Brad Pitt says in Fight Club. You decide your own level of involvement. If you want to be very involved in the guild and have a voice, and have some authority, then show up and do that. And before long, we'll give you a fancy little title to illustrate that you're qualified to do so or whatever. But you don't even need these formal titles to begin with in order to be active and participate and propagate our vision of being a helpful guild. but when it comes down to it, fundamentally, it's the behavior. And when we one of the examples I like to use to illustrate this is when we moved back to Bhakti, and we had been informed about this whole Bhakti Village Council thing. And Whirl from High reached out to me, and we had a discussion, and they had some ambivalence as well. Oh, you're DracoSilvam. We don't know much about you, but apparently you're allied with Legion. What's that all about? Okay, so there's that piece. Everybody knows who Legion is. Everybody, Legion's identity is it's very unconfusing. It's very unambiguous. It's very straightforward. It's very, they wear their behavior on their sleeve. They're not a complicated, sort of, you know, uh, behaviorally deceptive guild. Like they are what they are. And so by being affiliated with them, there were concerns by the Bhakti village. Like, what the hell did we just, are we just going to have this RPK guild in town? What does this mean? And one of the things I told them was, I can tell you all of these things about what I want for the guild, about my vision, about my approach, and what I see Draco being in a year. But the only thing that's going to be evidentially supportive of that is my guild members' behavior, how they act, what they do around town. Are they are they the ones doing that bow exploit where they could shoot through windows and kill horses? Are they the ones running around naked with Molarium's axes killing horses? Are they outside of town ganking you at the bridge? Are they killing noobs at the graveyard? And the answer to all that was no. We were fighting RPK guilds. We were teaching new players things. We were giving some new player a horse because we had an extra one in the bank. And so our behavior quickly identified us, in Bhakti at least, as a helpful, useful, friendly, agreeable, approachable guild that was trying to foster a strong, positive, educational new player experience. So my only hope is that as the community grows, we're able to continue this mission and continue this vision across a broader spectrum of people. You don't have to be the nicest, friendliest Care Bear in the world to be in Draco, but it's kind of the community that we've chosen to be. We've chosen to be supportive and helpful to the game, and you can't be a toxic tool in doing so. Maybe not all the time, but that's how we try to establish our identity, just by our behavior. We can say all the things we want in the world, but if you come to Bhakti and interact with us, you're going to have negative interactions here and there. When Henrik came to our keep, we had members push him off the top and then murder him. But like I said, that's the jungle. We're going to be more aggressive there. But around the graveyard, excuse me, around the bandits at Bhakti, at the bank, I'm confident that we'll establish that we have a more helpful approach to the game than those outlier interactions that you might have. But that's the way to do it. It's behavior and just continuing to stay true to the mission. So yeah, it can't be done in one fell swoop. And like I said, not everybody is going to be a perfect fit. And I'm still going to wake up to texts or DMs from other leaders about, why did your Draco guy do this? And I'm going to have to respond and say, sorry, but I was asleep. It wasn't my behavior. I'll investigate it or something like that. But yeah, first and foremost, when you do something in Mortal, you're establishing your own reputation first, and then the tag under it becomes associated. So it's just something we have to be mindful of going forward in the future. But it's something that we are mindful of. The leadership at Draco, we take it seriously, and we care about it. We care about our members. We care about the community. So
Okay, good answer. Um, fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh, so you're going for a castle launch, like that's the game plan as far as I'm aware. And like, how would you say, how detrimental would it be to like your guild, like if you for some reason like the keeps got taken or the castles got taken by whoever, maybe some new guilds that came to the game or something. Like, what does that look like for DracoSilvam? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how instilled in your members is like getting a castle at this point?
It wouldn't be. I mean, that's our end goal, but we're going to be living in the jungle regardless, whether it's from a house, from a stronghold, or from the keep itself. We're just going to be in the jungle and reaching out from there. So I mean, that's ultimately our plan, to have the keep, but it's some people aren't as accepting of the idea to farming the mats or the upkeep for a keep, because upkeep right now is ridiculous as well, right? Like, you can put 10 gold in a house and that's 2 months of in-game time. So, but that'll go up as taxes are introduced with territory control, and there's more things to do in your house other than it just be a box with a chest. Keeps will be a lot more expensive, and some people aren't for that. But our end goal is definitely to get the keep, but it's not the end of Draco if we don't get it.
I mean, everyone agrees, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, the question is, how integral is owning a keep to our identity as a guild, right? Like, how
Yeah,
how
pretty
how
much.
detrimental would that be to not get the keep, or for somebody to take the keep? Um, I think a lot of that depends, kind of, on the structure, on the system. You played Albion, right? Like, when you
Hmm.
had one of those little keeps, or I don't remember what they're called, but like in the
I think they're called strongholds, actually, but
okay, yeah, and it's not null zone, right? In Eve, it's a null zone. In Albion, it's
I think you could do it in black zones,
black
but
zones.
In the
Yeah,
black zones, yeah.
yeah,
right. And I remember, at least last time I played for a little bit, if you had all of this stuff, all of these resources that you acquired in one of those strongholds, and it was destroyed, you could like go to the stronghold, to the ruins of it, and you could click on a button, and then all of that stuff would be put in the bank of the closest NPC town. Is that accurate?
I don't know about that part.
I thought that was what they might have done, as sort of a failsafe, to say, hey, you've been playing this game for a year, for 2 years, you have all this stuff in a stronghold hideouts. That's it. And we're not just going to destroy all of that stuff, because what is it? The decision you're forcing a player to make at that point is, okay, so my time investment of a year, 2 years, whatever, has just been eradicated. My decisions now are start from square one, work my way back up, or just go to the bank and just pick up where I left off. Um, and if the former is this is the only option I have, then I'm likely to just say, okay, what other games do I have on my Steam account, and move on. So I think that matters. If we have a lot of stuff, if a lot of our members have all this stuff in the Keep Bank, and then somebody takes it, and then all of that stuff that they've spent months, hours, to acquire just disappears, I think that regardless of the identity, that's harmful to my motivation to want to log in and play the game again. Um, so yeah, maybe I leave. Maybe I want to join another guild because they've already got stuff and I don't have to start from square one again. Something like that. But if it all just goes back to Bhakti and you can continue just playing the game and enjoying it, then I don't think it's that big of a deal. At least not for me. Everybody deals with loss and the grieving process of having died differently. Some transition through it a little bit quicker than others, and I think that that's something that we try and teach. But yeah, we're jungle dwelling. We're not keep dwelling. Is the general philosophy that we try to propagate. So. And I don't even know if the first step is going to be a keep. It might be a stronghold. It might be, just a house near jungle camp or something like that. But I'm hoping, if there's something I can say to Henrik and the developers, I'm hoping that you don't make keeps. I hope they are super valuable and super useful, but I hope they don't make them necessary to the point that if somebody comes and takes our keep, or if we just don't get the keep because somebody else takes it before us, I hope they don't make it so like a whole big chunk of gameplay is just unattainable. Because if that's the case, then
No walls around jungle camp, please, or the demon spawn, or however it was in MO1. Oh, that was not fun.
yeah,
you'll be able to build villages around strongholds. They'll
Yeah.
have their own influence. So I don't think keeps will. I don't think, if any, like gameplay will be taken away. Only controlling towns and stuff should be done from castles, as far as I'm aware. But that's just
Yeah.
that's just adding revenue to your guild. That shouldn't. That's not like gameplay. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And going back to the idea, if we don't get the keep, is it going to affect DS? It's one of the ways I try to look at it is I'm not trying, whenever we recruit people, I'm not actively trying to get people, invested in the idea of a keep. Sure, yeah, having a keep is great, but we're trying to get people invested in the group of people that is DS, right? I've been with Housey for 9-10 months now, same with Majunda, and all the people that were there when I joined, and then the people that joined us in the process, and all these people that, when I log on to Discord, it's Housey's fault. Everyone knows it. Whenever when I hop in Discord, everyone knows it's Housey's fault. I blame Housey. It's the running gag in the guild. I propagate that. It's the brotherhood, the online drama and the friendship that goes on in there. That's the part I'm invested in. If Housey told me to fuck off one day, I mean, sure, all right, I'll fuck off. But there goes 10 months.
Yeah. So it's the locus of control, right? Is the keep DracoSilvam, or is the keep just another tool to be able to play the game? And I'm hoping it's the latter and not the former, because I think that just gives you a better way of navigating that grieving process of losing something.
Right.
I think it makes it easier.
That's fair. Well, to be honest with you, I don't really have any more questions. Does anyone from chat have any questions they would like to ask or know about Guild DracoSilvam? Is there anything that you guys either had anything you wanted to talk about your guild that I didn't cover?
Oh boy.
Nothing except we're always recruiting, so.
Yep.
And if you think that it's a good fit for you, then feel free to reach out to any DracoSilvam member, and they'll point you to us, and we can get you hooked up.
Cold Fiend, if you go on the Mortal Online official Discord, you can reach out to Ongar, and he's like their head of recruitment. He'll talk to you about it. Just DM him. It keeps coming up. Housey, are you single?
Leave my bottom alone.
Yeah, I'm pretty married to Mortal, so yeah, no time for relationships.
Married to Mortal. There is your answer.
Yeah. Mortal in school.
People. Oh, wait, let's say it. Sorry, I missed the start. What's Draco's mission? Oh, that's a good question. That's from Henrik. What's your mission? Your overall mission for the game? How do you want to be remembered?
Growth of the community, I think, is number one. Not only just within Draco, but the game as a whole. We're open PvP, but we don't aim to be jerks about it. We don't want to be just slaughtering people in the graveyards and getting them to quit the game before they even gave it a chance. I personally, I don't want to see what happened to Mortal 1 happen to Mortal 2. And I do think that the developers have done an amazing job designing game systems to move away from that, but it still is ultimately on the community as well, right? It was everybody's fault that or not fault that it didn't do so well, but it was in that direction for sure, and I don't think that's disputable, to be honest. As I was part of that, and I was one player that got through the release of Steam and just figured out, hey, if I'm getting killed at the gates of Tindrum or Morinker, I'm just going to ghost somewhere else and spawn there and start from there. But unfortunately, a lot of people didn't give it the time of day. And I think that, in general, the gaming community is more open to these kinds of games. What with the advent of survival genre like Ark and those types of games, Atlas, Dark and Light, 7 Days. So I do think it's going to be a lot better, but we're trying to foster an engagement of PvP, PvE, and respect.
Yeah.
What do you think, Augie?
I mean, that's what I've been. That's literally what I've been trying to do for ever since I joined. It's a vision that I thought was great the moment I joined, and obviously, it's still a game, right? We're not getting. We're not getting paid to maintain a community. We're still going to go out and enjoy the game. And our priority is the growth of the game and the people getting into the game and enjoying it. But it's a game. We don't lose sight of that part either.
Yeah, I agree. We just adopted the little mission statement of virtue in violence, which just sort of concisely we wanted to capture the idea that to be virtuous, to be approachable, to be ethically sound, to be responsible in the community, to want to nurture the game and see it thrive, and help development, reporting bugs, just be a valuable, useful guild in the community. It requires also being violent. It's a fighting game, and like Augie said, it is a game fundamentally. So to run around as an ARPK Care Bear and just want to be friends with absolutely everybody is not it. It's neither a realistic approach nor a helpful approach to the game. There has to be violence and aggression, and murdering and killing, and so that's why that sort of territory confound is very important and integral to the guild. But our mission is that to remain a force, a strong military force in the South, in the jungle, in the Canteri, while helping the game, while being a source of reinforcement to the community rather than a scourge to it. We don't want to harm the community. We don't want to harm development. We don't want to exploit bugs. We want to root them out, and we want to help make this an excellent game. So that's the number one priority, I would say. And yeah, is there a keep in those plans? Is there a stronghold in those plans? Something like that. I mean, there's got to be some. It's too large of a guild, and there's too heavy of a commitment from a large amount of the players to not have some sort of guild exclusive bank or hub or location outside of Bhakti. We're just, I don't want to say we're too large for Bhakti, but it's just it would be a disservice to what Draco has become for myself and Majunda and the rest of leadership to not pull the trigger on some sort of ancillary solution to all of the stuff that we have, because we've got a lot of stuff. It's a large guild with lots of resources, and a lot of people that put a lot of time into it. So yeah, that's the mission. It's community, it's the guild. How do we foster an environment where members of the guild can have as much fun as possible while still being beneficial to the game? That's I think the crux. Because when we made this shift to a more PvP RPK centric focus, there was some pushback. A lot of guilds, not pushback, but there was a lot of skepticism from other guilds. I get a message from Whirl like, what, you guys are RPK now? Like, what does that mean? Are you gonna kill me everywhere? It's like, no, dude, that's not the point of it. The point of it is to facilitate more growth and PvP development for our members. It's not for us to become griefers and start killing horses in town. That's not that's not even PvP. That's just griefing and being a scumbag. So um, so yeah, just facilitating a good place for our guild members while maintaining a healthy community. Um, that's the goal. Whether or not there's a keep in there, not sure how long it's going to be. I don't know. It remains to be seen. What happens if there's 5,000 people on launch, Butson? I mean, do you think it's going to be as easy for us to get a keep then? I mean, you did you get your keep on keep day? Was that something you guys did?
No. We got it. I think we got it that same week, but not the day of. I didn't even
Mhm.
play for like a day or two when that patch dropped because I was working. But yeah, it was that week, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, we got it on keep day, and I remember the plans, the collaboration between the alliance members. You know what our efforts were going to look like on that day. Is anybody trying to come and take keeps and things like that? And I remember just this insidious anxiety the whole week. Just when are keeps going to launch? Like we were. Oh my gosh, Augie and Kara and I've got their phone numbers now because we had each other on speed dial. Like I'm West Coast and Augie's East Coast, so we were like, okay, you go get 3 hours of sleep, and I'll let you know when the patch launches, and we had everything like, just very sort of very structured, and there was a continuum of what we were going to do on Keep Day, and I I can imagine
Just
how
imagine it tenfold upon
yeah,
persistence.
tenfold with so many people running around. And I'm hoping, like we were talking about before, to detach ourselves a little bit from the identity of having to have a keep, because in the possible scenario where it doesn't happen, I can only imagine if some group came along on keep day this last month and just wiped us out, took the keep deed, took our resources, and just took Cantera keep. I would have been it would have been a blow to my whole existential being of what it means to exist in Mortal 2 as a guild leader. Like it would have caused an immediate existential crisis just because of how much effort we put into it,
Yeah.
versus how quickly it gets shut down. So hopefully trying to sort of distance ourselves from that need, from that requirement. It's the same sort of stress response that you experience when you get killed in Mortal, just at a much highly exacerbated degree, because it's more at stake, right? Um, and when you go from a bone sword to a steel sword to a chronite sword to a keep, it's a spectrum of how much effort you put into this versus how much somebody can take from you. So just distancing from how necessary a keep is, I think is pretty valuable. But you know,
Would you say
right.
that? And I'm not expecting you to name anybody, but would you say that is a guild or are guilds that would possibly fall apart if they did not get the keep as intended,
Oh man,
or
that
a
would
keep in general?
that would fall apart.
Like, well, maybe not completely disband, but like it would be a huge blow to that guild in general.
Well, I can't say Levia, right? Because this happened to Levia. Like they were going for top keep, right? Um,
Well, I think that was VII actually,
oh,
but
was
It
it?
was VII, I
I
think.
thought VII got GK, or was that
they
afterward?
bought both. They purchased both, so they
Oh,
went for top. I mean, they're all in the same alliance, whatever. But they put down the keep at top, and then they ended up losing the fights and then losing the keep because they hammered it down, and then they built that GK keep either at the same time or right after.
mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
To answer your question, Putin, I don't think, like, honestly, the guilds that are prepared and attempting to take the keep, I don't think they're going to fall apart if they don't get it. They're just going to pick themselves back up and try to take it again at a later time. Because the people that try and play on that higher tier of gameplay are obviously more dedicated than those than are just messing about and PvPing. So they're and in the Mortal stream gameplay itself, like everything you have on you at any point, horses, armor, as soon as it's in your inventory, prepare to lose it, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? So if any guild were to lose a keep, they would just, like you make another steel sword, you just farm back up and attempt to take it back. And
Well,
that's what keeps the stream of gameplay
that
going.
as history has taught us, losing a keep can crush a guild completely.
Absolutely.
I was saying
yeah.
more about just not getting one in the first place at launch. Is
Oh,
what I
okay.
meant.
Yeah. No, I don't think things are going to be so chaotic at launch that it's going to be impossible to expect or consider you just I mean, I would say, there are guilds that are big enough that can muscle their way into those spots, but we don't know what the player base is going to be like, right? There are absolutely guilds that are just sleeping, waiting for persistence, and how big they come returning to the game, or even the new players, the new guilds, or as Housie was mentioning, if there's a zerg of players from other countries, we just don't know what to expect.
Yep, that's fair. Just a question for Henrik, real quick, kind of ties into what we're talking about. Will strongholds be able to capture towns, or is that solely a keep / castle mechanic? Because we were talking about this earlier in this interview. If like a guild was unable to claim a castle, if like how much content would they be missing out on if they were limited to like a stronghold, for example, as a guild? It's gonna take him some time to answer, but yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I
1K
think there
plus
are
gold from
guilds.
Eve.
Yeah, I think there are definitely guilds who are expecting hands down to get a keep. Whether or not they get it is a different question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any TC asset and NPC service.
Okay, so you don't even need a castle to own a town. You just need a
Well,
stronghold,
Well, I
apparently.
think the castles,
I'm
the
not sure if
castles
that's what he answered.
themselves, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that.
I think he's answering Majunda, asking like, will there be assets that we can develop
Oh,
within the town?
yeah, I think he is answering
And
Majunda.
I think what you were asking is like, will the Bhakti keep own Bhakti? Right? Is that?
Yeah, like can it,
Well,
Henrik? I'll ask it again just to more clarify. Can a stronghold capture Toxai? Can a stronghold capture Bhakti, or is that only limited to a castle / keep to control NPC blue towns? Maybe that would be more clear than what I said before. I don't know what I said before, but I don't
yeah,
think it was as clear.
I will be right back.
and if that is TC,
That's not it either.
no. And if that were the case, right, that would change the value of these keeps, right? Like,
Yeah.
positioning is one thing, strategic defensibility is another, access to resources. If Bhakti Keep, for example, could functionally own Bhakti, that would change the value of it, right? So what are you getting from it? That's essentially like a resource. And then you could ask yourself, if you wanted to sort of extrapolate that system into something more complicated, you could develop for further TC structures or animal spawns that are accessible contingent to owning that keep or that area or that stronghold or something. So Sunken Isle, if you had like a dock or something like that, that would sort of be a proxy town, right? Like in the same aspect as Bhakti Keep owning Bhakti Town, Sunken Isle could own this dock or something like that. And that would, not only would that make the value of these keeps a little bit more abstract, um, but it would sort of spread out the resources. As we've talked about, all these resources in Sabura has come and go from the MK area. Um, the balancing would be more difficult, sure, but I think it would make the game more dynamic, and it would make you have to really sort of evaluate the value of each town. Because a lot of people say Sunken Isle, oh, who cares? It's off in the middle of nowhere. It's not near a city. What's the value of owning that place? Well, if there's like a dock or if there's like a little jungle camp down there that you could own exclusively by owning that keep, it changes the entire sort of rhythm of what keep is valuable
Yeah, I
or
mean,
not.
that keep is essentially like infinite keeled, horned, possibly Incisium. Just farm the
Argus
Seder camps
Sponge.
on the island. You have it basically all to yourself. Either you take those products and you go and sell them in faraway places where they're worth much, much more.
Yeah.
And it's extremely lucrative.
So the value is there, but it goes a lot into like when I was on that podcast with you and Aku and some other guys, we talked a lot about like the structures and systems and stuff. This was before the tasks were in, but that was something that I was advocating heavily for because it teaches new players how to play the game, right? It's this game is as veterans, we all understand it at a very high articulate level about how to get access, get resources, sell them, how to play the economy, right? Whereas a new player, it's what do? I killed this wolf and I got a bunch of stuff. Do I just vendor it? Like, well, there's more value if you turn it into weapons or if you sell it on the auctions or something like that, or broker. Sorry. So those tasks it's in the same sort of cadence of teaching players the game. So if there's a TC associated with a keep, then that's an informal task, if you will, for more abstract thinkers. If they really want boats, then Sunken Isle having attached that dock is going to be of more value or something like that. And you see that same sort of cadence up northeast with people getting access to Tefra and stuff like that. But I think that would be cool. I think that would be great to have these keeps have exclusive access to certain things. I think it would make it more dynamic. But then it also makes it sort of more important, right? And I'm sort of advocating for less necessity of owning a keep. So if I want a boat, what am I going to do if my enemy owns the Sunken Isle dock or something like that? So I guess that leads to another sort of continuum of issues, but I don't know. I think the more complicated this game gets, the better, because I mean, look at Eve, right? Did you ever see the graph of the learning curve of Eve, and it like goes up and around, and it's like impossible to learn. So
Eve is like so complicated.
Yeah.
Honestly. By the way, Henrik said he's unsure about the strongholds owning towns at the moment. They may or may not go with it, but undecided. And then he also said, since we won't have towers anymore, your influence expands with your buildings. So I don't know if that includes all TC buildings or if he's talking about houses or strongholds, but essentially your buildings will be the way you expand your territory. It'll probably be like strongholds or something equivalent to a stronghold to expand your territory. So kind of an answer on that, at least a little bit. But yeah, I do want to go ahead and wrap it up here. Do you guys have any final things you want to say about DracoSilvam?
I think Housey has pretty much covered it while almost putting you to sleep. So, but I
He's
did
not
want
putting me to sleep. I'm on 2 hours of sleep. So I slept from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. It's 4 p.m. right now. I'm just exhausted in general.
Yeah,
so
no, thank you for having us on. I appreciate it. Is it okay to plug our Discord or?
yeah, you want to post it in the chat? You can post it in the chat if you want, in Twitch chat. Spam it up. You can post it multiple times. I don't care. Whatever you want. This is your interview, so. But yeah, if anyone wants to join DracoSilvam, he's posting the Discord and chat. Also, you can reach out to Onager or anyone that you see on DracoSilvam on the Mortal website. Just send them a DM. They'll get in contact with you and talk with you about how to go forward.
Also, my fridge door is closed most of the time. Most.
Yeah, he's a savage. He just left it open. I was watching that whole time.
Yeah, chat was going nuts. Please close it.
Yeah. Henrik says, good luck to Draco. Will be interesting to follow your journey on release. So now you have Henrik watching you, so don't fuck it up.
Yep. The pressure's on.
Pressure's on.
Thanks for having us on, Putson.
Yeah, absolutely.
So. Really appreciate you. Happy New Year. It's exciting 2022 going into Mortal 2 and being sort of on the groundworks of where this game goes. But I'm very optimistic about it. I'm very excited. I'm very devoted to the game. I love it. It's my favorite game. I love the community, and I appreciate everything that the devs have been doing to make it, the game it is today. No longer having to pull resources out of boxes to make weapons, so it's come a long way. But yeah, I appreciate everything. Thanks for your time. Thanks for having us, and
Thanks for having us.
we'll see you in game.
Yeah, have a good one, boys.
All right, guys.
Likewise, man.
Happy
Get
New
some
Year.
sleep.
All right, bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, boys. Thank you everybody for all the follows and subs we got during the stream, and Gak for the donation. I really appreciate it. I tried to be as entertaining and get all the questions I could out there, boys. I'm extremely tired today. Let's go ahead and get a raid on someone to get the views going. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, you know what? We'll raid Karma. You know, because I raid Ice Prime all the time. So we'll go ahead and raid Miss Karma and get her some views. So just hang on 1 second. All right. Again, thank you guys, everyone. Have happy New Year's. Enjoy your day. Thank you, Halsey, for coming on and allowing me to interview you guys. I really appreciate that. But yeah, guys, thank you. Thank you, Vaynard, as well, for coming on the podcast with me. I think we had a really good time on the podcast, just you and me, man. I'm definitely gonna have you back on at some point. I try not to do it back to back, of course, so people want to, get a variety of opinions and such. But I will definitely have you back on. I really enjoyed speaking with you, man. Honestly. Yeah, thank you, Kara. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, happy New Year to you as well, and to your family as well. All right, have a good one, boys. Go be nice to Karma, okay? Give her some love.
Like